Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to a brand new Anfield Talk podcast. Now, if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you will not be able to see our beautiful faces as we are now on YouTube in video form. So, yeah, if you want, you can go over to our YouTube channel, subscribe to us. We'll be releasing the podcast on there. It'll still be coming to Apple Podcasts and Spotify as normal. Nothing's changing with that. But yeah, we're doing video form now, which I think has been a long time coming. Before I introduce you, we've got on today. We are now sponsored, I can say, by Sporting. We're very grateful for Sporting showing us some support. Our first ever sponsor, and there's an app you can download with a link in the description. Everyone from TAT, all your favorite people are on there. And the billionaire, if you know who he is, shout out to the billionaire, he's in there. There's a group chat where it's going a bit wild at the minute with everyone talking about the game yesterday, of course. Not very good conversations in there, as you can imagine, but it's just good to interact with Liverpool fans, see stats, predicted lineups, all that kind of stuff. So, make sure you download Sporting In. First link in the description. Join our group chat and get involved and show Sporting In some love for sponsoring your favourite Liverpool fan account. But yeah, today I am here with Paddy. How are you, mate?
Sounds a bit madly depressed over the past 2 weeks, but yeah, in the grand scheme of things, not bad. We've just got to get on with life and hope Liverpool can sort themselves out within the next coming weeks.
Yeah, spot on, mate. And I did say a joke earlier to my brother. The good thing is we've got United next week, so nice easy game there. But we'll see. We'll get onto that at the end of the stream. But me and Paddy were both fortunate enough to be at the game yesterday, so we're going to give our thoughts where it went wrong. The goals, some of the crazy things that we saw, and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get straight into it, mate. So first off, how do you think? Well, first of all, we'll talk about the lineup, mate, because I was in the Sandon and I still have notifications on for TAT like any other follower would do. Even though I'm an admin on there, I still have my notifications on. And at first, I saw the first tweet that had Henderson in midfield and Nat Phillips. But then I was like, that's a bit of a worry for me because I remember Zaha against Milner last season on that right hand side, and then I just thought he's going to just do that to Nat Phillips, isn't he, all game long? And then to make it worse, that tweet was deleted, and then Milner was in midfield and not Henderson. So when you saw that lineup, mate, what were your thoughts? Were you worried, or did you still think there's enough in there to get the win? Or yeah, tell me.
I wasn't too worried purely because of the fact I'll probably get murdered for this. I absolutely don't mind that Phillips is a centre back. I don't think he's a Liverpool level centre back. Let's just get that perfectly straight and clear. But as a top flight centre back, I don't think Nat Phillips is too bad. So that didn't worry me. To be honest, the whole lineup didn't really worry me at all. James Milner came on against Fulham and changed the game. I won't have a bad word said about James Milner. I know he's probably past his sell-by date to be starting games for Liverpool. But, when needs must, as yesterday was, he's more than fine to be in Liverpool midfield. Granted, the question of another midfielder is then raised again. So why is James Milner, 36, 37 years of age, starting for a side who wants to go on to win the league? But as I say, in the context of last night, I wasn't too bothered. But as you say, the Palace goal comes from a bit of not inexperience from Nat Phillips because he's played a full season basically at centre back for Liverpool. Just a bit of rustiness, I'd say, purely because of the fact he hasn't played football really in about a year in Premier League football anyway. Obviously, he was at Bournemouth last year, but yeah, lineup as a whole, it should be Crystal Palace.
Yeah, no, I agree. I still thought, whenever I go to the games, even if I don't, to be honest, I never look at a lineup and, melt down like you see some people on Twitter. I never think, oh, we're going to lose, or I always just have belief. And I did yesterday. I thought it's not what I would have wanted personally, but like you say, it should have beaten Crystal Palace. And you make a good point there about Nat Phillips. And I said this earlier as well on another stream I did. Gomez, from what I gather, he pulled out just before the game or something like that, or he was declared unfit to start, not, with short notice. And Nat Phillips has probably trained all week expecting to be on the bench. So, like you say, mate, I'm with you on Nat Phillips. He's not good enough for Liverpool, of course. That's why he's the fifth choice centre back. But yeah, the goal does come from him. But I won't go in too much on him for that, because listen, he's not blessed with pace. He's not blessed with the skill set that Joe Gomez or Kanate has. So for me, he's out of his depth kind of when he's in those games, and he should have really gone by now. But the fact that we've had to keep him kind of suggests that maybe Kanate, it's a bit worrying for me. But we'll get onto that in a bit. But yeah, no, I agree. Milner, I don't agree with some of the stuff that goes on about him. Do I think he's the best midfielder at Liverpool, or do I want him to start games? No. Do I want him around the club? Yes. Does Jurgen Klopp want him around the club? Yes. So it's easy to sit there, isn't it, and say like, oh, he should be gone, whatever. But at the end of the day, if the manager's chosen to keep him around for whatever purpose, then he knows best. And you see people on Twitter saying, oh, you're saying, do I know more than Klopp? Well, he's the manager, so he can be wrong, and I'm sure a lot of people will say he was wrong with some of the decisions he made yesterday, but that is football. That is football. And just getting into the game, mate, just before the goal, we'll touch on the goal properly in a moment. The first 20 minutes or so, I didn't actually think we started too badly, to be honest. There was that really good ball Trent played through to Salah, a couple of nearly moments. We actually started quite well. So, yeah, talk to me, mate. What do you think on the way Liverpool started? And I guess we kind of fell apart when a certain thing happened, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, listen, there had to be a response from Fulham, purely because of just how bad it was. Fulham was horrendous. The performance level was absolutely shocking. I haven't seen Liverpool play that bad in years. So there was pressure on them to start fast, and they did, to be fair. It was just unfortunate we couldn't really create a clear-cut chance of any real note before the goal. Obviously, Salah has his chance from Trent pulling it back in from the right, and to be fair, you back Salah to score them. That was our only real clear-cut chance. We've had a lot of games recently, I say recently, back end of last season, start of this, where we dominate possession but create nothing. It's only when the chips are down when they really start turning the screw a little bit, which, we've gone 1-0 down in the past, I think it's 6 Premier League games.
6 in a row.
So that isn't good enough for a side who, as I say, is aiming high. But, on a different day, we're 2-0 up within 20 minutes yesterday. We started really well. But then, worryingly enough, I think around the half-hour mark, which is just before Zaha scores, it almost started to look like as if we ran out of ideas at that early point in the game, which was, it's worrying because you are waiting for the inevitable sucker punch, and Liverpool have been sucker punched a hell of a lot recently. And, last night was just another story of it, really.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. I agree with everything you just said there. And the goal comes from me. I was confused, to be honest, because I went on Twitter in the car on the way home, and I saw Virgil getting a lot of criticism for that. And, I'll be interested to hear your thoughts. But for me, and I think Klopp alluded to this as well in his post-match interview, as soon as Eze pulls away from those two in midfield, Fabinho and Trent, we're in trouble. Like, he's literally got to play one ball into Zaha, who, again, like we mentioned before, is playing on Nat Phillips' side because he's obviously sensed that he's the weak link out of the two. And for me, I think Fabinho, I feel like Trent and Fabinho made a 2v1 situation there. One of them probably should have stood off Eze. And I know it's easy for us to say, but one of them probably should have stood off him, and then one of them should have tried to close him down. And it seemed like they both went for the ball, and they've both missed the ball. Eze's come out with the ball, played a brilliant through ball to Zaha. And then, for me, Virgil defends like that all the time. Like that, I don't get why people look at Virgil and think, oh, why is he standing off him? When do you ever see Virgil slide tackling or defending like Nemanja Vidic, just diving into things. You never see him on his backside. You never see him do these things. If he absolutely has to, then yeah. But like he created an angle where he's basically said to Zaha, to score from here, you've got to get a perfect shot because Ali's the best keeper in the world. I've made a tough angle for you. And it's just very unfortunate that Zaha produced an incredible finish. Like for me, that finish is, I've not seen too many people talk about it, to be fair, which I'm quite surprised with, because that was for me, from where I was sat at least, it looked like I've not seen much of it back, to be fair, for, you can understand for not wanting to watch that back. But for me, it looked like it was a world-class finish, mate.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it goes back to Fabinho. I think he's been off the pace for a while. It looks like he needs a rest, and I really don't want to get drawn into investments and FSG and all that because that is a completely different, separate issue. But at the end of the day, it comes back to the lack of investment in midfield and not necessarily the rest of the team. And the fact, we are holding out for Bellingham, I think that is just purely the case. So, in my opinion, you're not sacrificing a season because anything can happen in the next 6-7 months, but you are risking a season based on that. And that's already happening with our midfield. We've got so many injuries in that position, which means Fabinho can't come out of the team. So you're playing a fella at DM, which in our team is a very, very important position, who looks leggy. He's not the type of player who snaps into people as he has been for a couple of years for Liverpool. He reminds me of when he first signed. He looks like he's returned to that point of getting back up to the pace of the Premier League, which is an odd thing to say, considering I think at times he's been the best DM in the world. I don't think he is now. I think Rodri takes it by an absolute country mile on current form. As you say, the 2-on-1 situation, listen, Trent's suspect. And defensive wise, you can have him all attacking all you want, but the fact that he's a right back, he's got to be able to do that stuff as well. And every time I see him, he becomes a little bit less into it. Like, I'm not into England at all, but I get why he doesn't play for Southgate's system. But I digress. Eze was unbelievable for Palace.
Yeah,
last night he was unbelievable. I wanted Liverpool to sign him when he was still at Reading, and I do feel like Liverpool missed out on someone who will become unbelievable. Obviously, he had really bad luck with injuries last season, and the ball he plays, it doesn't have to be perfect because the amount of space in behind, and obviously that's a byproduct of the way we play. The infamous high line, which hasn't been highlighted too much, funnily enough, so far this season. I'm sure it will at some point. But yeah, as you say, Verge probably should go over a little bit more. But that says to me just backs his goalkeeper because, as you say, Ali's probably the best in the world at the minute. But the finish from Zaha, it's inch perfect. No goalkeeper's going to save it. It's just unfortunate, as you said before, that he's produced when Palace had one or two chances in the whole game, and one was that, and the second one was Zaha in the second half, which I'm sure we'll get on to. But from then on, I think the atmosphere as a whole changed. The belief got sucked out of the crowd, I think, which has been happening a lot. It happens a lot at the back end of last season. I was fortunate enough to be in Paris. Unfortunate enough, depending on what way you want to spin it. It happened the same then when Vinicius scored. It felt like everyone just got sucked out of the crowd. Everyone was like, "Oh well, not that's it," but it was like it's going to take something for Liverpool to get back into it, which is such a far cry from the year we won the league. Whenever we go 1-0 down, it was sort of like poking the bear in a way. It's like, what, we'll win it anyway, so who's really bothered? That's gone, and I don't know why that is, and it needs to come back pretty sharpish, considering how many times we are going behind in games at the minute.
No, 100%. I felt that as well from where I was sat. Yeah, it just goes flat, and obviously the players definitely feed from that, mate. And there was one moment when Fabio Carvalho came on, he tried to get the crowd going, and there wasn't much of a response, to be honest. And it's quite disappointing because I said to you just before we started, when Diaz scored, the place erupted, and that's probably the loudest I've heard Anfield in a very, very long time because we were down to 10, and we knew how much we needed a goal. And as I said to my brother, if only we did get that winning goal, that probably would have been one of my favorite ever games to have gone to be honest. Winning that with 10 men, I think the place would have gone bedlam. Obviously didn't come, and we'll get onto that, but yeah, I definitely feel like the fans need to do more, especially in the main stand. I don't think I ever hear a song being sang there. So
there's no point in sitting in the main stand. If you want to go to Anfield and sing and support the team, do not sit in that main stand. There's no point. And the bad thing for me is, obviously there is the tweet going around with the fellow with the United slipping on it. It goes back to the club and the touting and all that. Again, totally different issue. But my problem was, I was front row of the Annie Road Upper. There was a family next to me. Come to Anfield, I don't care. But what I do care about is caring about the team. They didn't engage with the game, is my problem. You've got too many people inside Anfield nowadays who don't engage with the atmosphere, the team, and what needs to be done. So you've got me who, I've been lucky enough to be going for 15, 16 years at this point. Like, I know the score. I want to go and support my team, and I care. Like, Liverpool, they rule my life. My mood is horrendous at the minute because just the context of the Premier League and the last two results. So you've got me and a few other lads to my left, like, punching the top of the main stand. Frustration. You just want it so badly. And you've got these people who are sitting and laughing and all that stuff. I was like, it's not the time or place. If we're 1-0 down with 10 men, you've got to get the ground going. The whole ground has to be behind it. That will never, ever happen, just purely because of the way the club has gone. It's Anfield, it's a tourist attraction nowadays, but it really irked me last night because it felt like a big game already. And for a big game, you want the atmosphere. And yeah, Diaz scores, and for 15, 20 minutes after, it was boss. Like, I could hear from the cop, it was absolutely amazing. It's just things like that which kill it. And I get why people have stopped going. I do understand it. It's just my love and addiction, if you like, for the club that keeps me coming back and want to be there, especially for nights like that, where, as you say, if it had been a late winner, it would have absolutely went off. But something has to be done about the atmosphere. I don't know what that is, to be honest. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you do. But if you come to Anfield, you learn the songs. And you get behind the team. It's not difficult. You don't come for the day out. It's not a day out. This is people like me, people like you. This is our life. We live and breathe this club, and we care about what happens. So don't come if you're not going to get involved, because the crowd matters. So yeah, I'm just going on a tangent, but it's just been
mate. Listen, you need this convos. Like, people don't like the conversation where, rival fans will say about the famous atmosphere, but it is true. But listen,
it's absolutely true.
We'll talk about that on another day. But let's get on to the sending off then, mate, because obviously this changed the entire game for me. I feel like we would have found a way to beat them with 11. I'm sure of it. But for me, I didn't see it at the time. I was literally looking away that side towards where you were sat. And then I look over, Anderson's on the floor, and the referee's got out his red card. Said to the fella next to me, "What's he done?" And he's just headbutted him. And I was like, great, they're not even going to check that. And for me, I had pretty strong words to say about Nunes, to be honest, mate. And I love the guy. Ever since we signed him, you see all these Muppets calling him Andy Carroll, saying, "Oh, we should have gotten Kunku, or we should have got this player, that player." I was like, you know what? I like the signing. I like Nunes ever since he played against us. I put in a couple of WhatsApp groups. Oh, this Nunes guy looks a player, like a serious player. And we weren't even linked with him at that time. So I've really liked him ever since then. I've been a big fan. Stood by him. But yesterday he let me down, mate. He did. He let me down. I feel like he let everyone in that stadium down, the manager, his teammates. And I get it. In the heat of the moment, these like Uruguayan, South American players, they've got that bit of fight in them, haven't they? That bit of a temper, and we've seen it before with Suarez and other players. But for me, for your first game, your home debut, where we literally have to get the 3 points because, like you say, the Fulham game, we needed a response. For him to do that, and this wasn't just the heat of the moment thing either, to be honest. Like, they were going at it all game, Anderson and Nunes. I've seen the compilation this morning on Twitter. Literally, both of them at each other's throat. And my worry now is after that, what's going to happen when we play Chelsea and he's got Thiago Silva doing the same thing? Or when we play Man City and he's got Ruben Diaz doing the same thing? Everyone's going to see this as a weakness and think if we can rattle Darwin Núñez, then who knows what's going to happen. So I was very disappointed. I was very let down by him. He has apologized. He took to Twitter earlier to say an apology, and I respect that. It takes a man to do that, and I'm sure he will be back, and he'll be back with a bang. But unfortunately for us now, that's 3 games, mate, and we've got Man United in that time. So, what were your thoughts on it, mate? And what do you think we do now without him?
You know what? The worst thing for me is it's not necessarily the red card. It's the fact he missed the 3 chances as well, which doesn't help his case at all. You know, the one in the back end of the first half, he scuffs. That should be a goal. You pay the money for the striker who scores goals like that. Obviously, he's a young lad, and he will get better, and his temper will hopefully get better as well. But one thing I will say is I really like it from Anderson from just a footballing perspective, just because I'd want my centre-backs to do that. I'd want Verge, and I'd want whoever's next to him. Say, for example, Mitrovic, just purely for example, if you know he's got a fuse, you play on it, you do it.
Yeah.
Every single time you're close to him, just give him a nudge, and it will work in the end, as proven last night. I've seen a few mad takes on Twitter about it, like he didn't mean to headbutt him and all that. It's like, that's just complete nonsense. He's retaliated.
Delusional, mate.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, you know, he's gone down soft, obviously. But again, I'd expect a Liverpool player to do the same. It's not like he's Zidane them, is it? Like he's moved his head towards him, and you cannot do that. There is no getting around it in any way, shape, or form. It's a red card. There's just no doubt about it. But the thing for me is his reaction after the red card. I think didn't help him either. Like Liverpool were really chasing it at that point, and he's still remonstrating with the referee. And you've seen James Milner literally push him off the field in the end. It was like you know what, you've been sent, just get off the pitch. So I'm sure I'd love to be on the fly on the wall if in the room where Klopp talks to him, because I'm sure there'll be stern words to say the least. But the thing for me is his first game back is going to be the derby, so he has the chance immediately after he's back to make up, if you like, for that. Because if he's on the pitch yesterday, as you said before, I do think we probably end up winning it. But just another thing I like to say about it: if you're sending death threats, right, to Joachim Anderson and his family, you just are wronging. You are the least of the human species if you're doing that over football. Yeah, footy's boss, we all love it, but it's really not that deep. Like, it was the same with Karius. It was the same with, there's countless other examples. If you're doing that, Liverpool fans don't want anything to do with you. I don't care where you're from, Liverpool, anywhere. If you're doing that, I just hope you're never inside Anfield, because that's just not what proper Liverpool fans do.
Yeah, of course, mate. I echo that. I was disgusted when I saw that as well, to be fair. Listen, it's football. Anderson's done nothing wrong. Like you say, mate, you want your players to do that. Why wouldn't you? Crystal Palace, obviously the underdog in this game. They need every bit of, help they can get. If a player's coming with his head, you're going to go down and get him sent off. So he's not done anything wrong, and now he's getting death threats. Like, it's insane. But I don't think those guys doing that are proper Liverpool fans. They're probably just trolls on a screen. But the point stands, mate. I agree. If you are doing that, if that is how you act, you don't belong at this club, and that's the bottom line. So, yeah, I think that's a good point, mate, to bring that up, to be fair. But the reaction was all right. For me, we played better with 10. I don't know why. I don't know. Well, I do know why. I think there was just more urgency, and they just wanted it more. And like we said, the fans were lifted. And Yeah, I mean, we'll get on to the Diaz goal, mate, because that was one of the positives, and there's a couple more positives that I think we'll close on as well. But for me, mate, last season I was fortunate enough to have gone to quite a few as well, and I don't think anything was ever going to top Salah against City. I was in the cop for that one. I saw Naby's goal against Palace again. What a strike! And I'm not saying this is better than any of those because I don't know how to judge those goals, but this is definitely up there in terms of recent times. That he picked up the ball right in front of me. Literally, I'm sat 2 rows up in the Kenny, and he's like danced around 4 defenders. Um, and then obviously he's seen the opportunity to shoot, and he has. And the funny thing is, mate, is at half time, I'm guilty of this as well, and I saw loads of people saying it that with Diaz, we need to see the end product. Like he's doing step overs, he looks great on the eye, which is amazing. I'm all for that kind of stuff. He's aesthetically one of the best players to watch in the league. Like he's just vibes. But that end product is something that has been concerning fans, like with Mane leaving, Jota being unavailable, two of our best goal scorers in the last few years. There was a bit of a question mark there. So I'm so relieved now that Diaz has done that, because now he's shown that he can do it from those tight angles where he's just bent it into the far post. And it's just unfortunate that we seem to score the best goals when we draw games, because again, it doesn't really mean too much. And Diaz couldn't celebrate probably the way he wanted to. I mean, he would have probably ran up to where I was sat if he scored, which would have been, if we won, sorry, which would have been something special. But yeah, I guess that was one of the only positives, mate. So how did you enjoy that one, mate? I mean, you must have got a great view of the ball going in from where you was.
You know what? Like, it was the same with this goal against Spurs in the way I reacted at the back end of last season. Because of who we're up against, my initial reaction is, right, just go and get the ball. Like, I cheer and just go and get the ball. It means nothing yet. Just go and get it. And as you say, unfortunately, we couldn't press on and win the game. But talking about just the goal itself, the thing about Diaz is he's got the Salah thing from when Mo first joined. Is when he picks it up, you automatically just lean forward a little bit. Like you're on the edge of your seat, you think something's going to happen. And yeah, the end product thing, listen, he's only been at Liverpool for 6 months, and I know we don't really have time for people embedding. But as far as he's concerned, I think he's embedded him quite well. It's just the end of it, as I say, the end product, perhaps a losing at times, but Jesus, the goal last night was unbelievable. To be honest, I haven't watched it back. I haven't watched the game back just purely because I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, why would you? Yeah.
Yeah. But, he beats 4 men and wraps one in the right-hand side of the goal. You're not... And the best thing is the keeper's full stretch. He's absolutely nowhere near it. So the finish itself is unbelievable. Hopefully now that's the start of him kicking on. Granted, his partnership with Robbo isn't really clicking at the minute, but I think that's a byproduct of Robbo's performances because I think they're well below par. As I say, he's just got that unpredictability about him. He can go either way, left, right, anywhere. So hopefully, as I say, that's the start of him truly delivering for Liverpool because he needs to. Yeah, he's got big boots to fill on the left hand side, and goals like that will go a long way into doing it.
100%. Since he's come in and he's settled in so quickly, and it was kind of a blessing that we got him last season because he's had 6 or 7 months now in a new country, a new environment, a new language, a much better and tougher league than anything he's been in before. He's had a bit of a settling in period now, and this is it. Like you say, mate, it's time to deliver, and it's not a bad way to start, is it, with that goal? So the sky's the limit, I think, for Luis Diaz. I think he can go on to be something special for us. I said it when we signed him. I was so excited about that signing. Everything I'd seen from him at Porto and in the Champions League, just the passion he has. And I know a lot of people laugh at that for some reason these days. Oh, passion merchants. Well, that's kind of what being at Liverpool is all about. You've got to have that passion and hunger. And that's why we signed players like Luis Diaz that, didn't have it on a golden spoon for them. You know what I mean? Like this guy, I don't know if you've read his backstory. It's incredible how he's even a professional football player, let alone playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. So I love it. I love his story. I love him. And yeah, like you say, let's hope that we see more of that for the rest of the season. But yeah, after that, as you can imagine, the atmosphere just went up another level to anything it had been all game, and it just wasn't to be. And obviously, we brought Fabio Carvalho on, and I thought he nicked a winner at the end, mate. I don't know how close it was, but from where I was sat, it looked like it was bending in. But yeah, what do you think of Fabio Carvalho? Do you think he's going to be an option going forward now we've not got Nunes, or how do you
No,
think?
absolutely. You know what? He could start at Old Trafford,
I was
purely
thinking
because
that.
of the fact we've got no. Bobby's sound. I love him, but if he plays anything like he did against Fulham, I will be starting him. Just because he's just so ineffective. But yeah, Fabio
Yeah.
and Harvey Elliott as well. I think it was Harvey Elliott's best game in Liverpool shirt. Them two, you can see they've played with each other before, which is nice to have that type of little connection already, if you like. So I'd like to see more of Carvalho, just purely because of the circumstances of which he arrived. The thing in January, so we've clearly wanted him for some time, and Liverpool
Yeah.
don't really miss with transfers in the modern era. There's a couple, but grand scheme of things, they're usually spot on. So hopefully, this is the thing. He's not a central midfielder. He's not an 8. I don't think he's a 10, which is the byproduct of our system and how rigid we are to it. So maybe there'll be a few times throughout the season where we go 4-2-3-1. You see him as a 10. You see him how really good he is. But as I say, Carvalho sounds that volley is not far away. To be fair, neither's Mo's from a couple of
Yeah,
minutes
Mose was good
before.
as well. Yeah.
Flashes out, just outside the post. But the thing I loved about Harvey Elliott is just, as I say, passion. He loses the ball a lot, but he wins it back. He goes and chases, he goes and does it. And especially playing on that right-hand side with Trent doing what he does, which at the minute is not too much. That's an important role in this Liverpool side, and he did it really, really well last night. I think next week at Old Trafford, I wouldn't go first name on the team sheet, but I'd definitely say he starts.
I agree, mate, and I'm glad you brought up Harvey because I agree, mate. I think it was definitely up there, and what I was impressed with most, like I know how good he's on the ball, I know how technical he is. Ever since he came through as a 16-year-old when we signed him, played in some of those cup games, and I saw it straight away. Like this guy's got it, like the ability, the natural ability that you can't learn, that you're born with. He's just got that. And yesterday I saw the side of him, like you say, off the ball, which was most impressive to me. Like the amount of times he won the ball back, the amount of interceptions he was making. It was just the complete performance from him yesterday. And yeah, again, I said it about Luis Diaz, but like the sky's the limit for this kid. Like, we've been, well, I don't know if you have, but I've seen a lot, like the vast majority of fans on Twitter crying out for a centre mid, and I get it. I agree, we probably do need one. But let's not forget that we do have a star boy. Like, I think he is that. I think he can go on to be world class. And we didn't have him for 6 months last season, and people don't like this cliche, but he was like a new signing in essence because we
He's
had
good.
him. We had listen. People hate that, but we had him for what 4 games before he got injured, and then a couple games. I know he played against Cardiff in the cup, but we didn't have him. That is my point for the majority of last season. So now we do have him, and he is playing. And like you say, I think he will play at Old Trafford. I hope he does. It's just another option we didn't have last season. And again, I must emphasize, I would still like Liverpool to go out and buy a centre mid, but I'm not gonna throw the towel in if they don't, like some people have. So that's just how I see
No,
it.
there's no point, is there? It is what it is. Liverpool are probably not going to sign another midfielder. That doesn't mean the season is done. A lot can happen in the
Yeah.
7 months that follows. People forget Harvey Elliott was keeping Jordan Henderson off the team. The start of last season, he started at home to Chelsea over Hendo. So if he can do a job as it was, sound by me, because he was absolutely fine last night.
Facts, mate. I think we've pretty much summed up the game. I don't know
Joe
if there's
Gomez
anything
as
you'd like
well.
to add. Joe Gomez, 100%. Gutted he couldn't start, to be honest, because I think he probably keeps up with Zaha for the goal as well. But I guess hindsight's a wonderful thing. Just hoping that he's fit enough to start for Monday, because I don't know why. Like some people out there don't rate this guy. For me, he's like, it's not even for me. Statistically, I don't think it's changed from the last time I checked. But him and Virgil van Dijk, in terms of defensive records, statistically, is the best partnership under Klopp. That run in 18-19 that they had, where we didn't concede, like we seemed invincible. So I know Gomez has had a couple of big injuries since then, and okay, he might have, lost a little bit, but mate, listen, if he's our third or whatever choice centre back, I get it. Konate's injured at the minute, but I'm glad that he's here. And there was talk about him going Villa or something in the summer, but he signed a new deal. Um, so yeah, I'll let you go, mate, because you want to bring it up.
Yeah, I love Joe Gomez. I feel so sorry for him in terms of his injuries and on and all that stuff. He's been at
So unlucky.
Liverpool for 7 years. 7 years now. Came in under Rodgers. Started as a left back for Liverpool, and people forget how good he is. The year we won the league, up until the pandemic, he was on par with Van Dijk, and I think that season is prime Van Dijk. I think he was by far and away the best centre back in the world. I still do think he is, but I think that season he was just levels above. Gomez was not far off that level. It was just so unfortunate last season. The season before, obviously with all the injuries and whatever, he couldn't really press on. But now he's got a chance to do so. And I think about yesterday as well. Obviously playing with 10 and playing with Trent and Robbo basically as left and right midfielders in the last 10 minutes. He covered that right hand side of the pitch unbelievably well. He came back like he'd never been away. It was the 1920 Joe Gomez we saw yesterday. Sometimes it can take him a little bit of time to come back after an injury. I remember the Arsenal 5-5 in the League Cup, and he played and he was absolutely awful. I remember saying in the main stand, I was like, what has happened to him? But from then on, he was unbelievable, got back to his level. So hopefully Old Trafford he starts, and hopefully this is the start of the run for him, because if him and Van Dijk can, as you say, reproduce that partnership we had, we won't go far off in terms of the actual league. Just one more thing before the United thing. Trent Alexander-Arnold yesterday, I don't know what you think. I think you can look at the stats, and the stats are glowing. The stats, of course, will show Trent was good. But I think his overall game was absolutely dreadful. I don't know whether that's because he was playing down my side in the second half and you're watching him more, but it just seemed his passing was a little bit off. Every ball's about 2 yards behind the fella, so the momentum gets sucked out. And our downhill, Joachim Anderson will not have an easier game than he had last night, because every single one of Trent's crosses landed on his head, and he weren't even crosses that he had to jump for. It's almost as if, listen, Trent's unbelievable, and I love him, and I don't want to nail into him just because of one game in August. But it felt as though he weren't taking care with his crosses, which is unusual to say. It just felt as though it was the story of I'll swing my magic right boot at it and it'll land on Nunez's head and it'll go in. I was seething in the second half because every single ball was just headed away. The one he did think about was the Salah chance in the first half, and we almost scored from it. So it's just things like that which irritate the life out of me.
No, you're right. Yeah, no, I thought it was a very poor performance from Trent, and we know how good he can be. I think that's the problem. We've seen it since he's come through. He's been unbelievable, and he's gone on to be comfortably the best right back in the world. I don't think anybody can dispute that. And you're right. Yesterday, for whatever reason, it just seemed a bit off. And I think, to be honest, the only players that I can say played well was Diaz, Elliott. I think Salah had an all right game.
Hendo was all right when he came on.
Hendo was good when he came on, yeah, but of course you won't see anyone say that on Twitter. And then Alisson, obviously, for that 1v1 save you alluded to earlier, I think that was incredible. So yeah, like you say, I don't think we can read too much into it because of one game in August. But let's just hope that he's back to his best on Monday night, which we'll get to in just a moment. And my frustration was when Nunes was off, we still were we were still just aimlessly putting it into the box, and there's no one there. Diaz, I thought, played well when he went up front, but I think we needed to just adapt the way we played a little bit, or I don't know what else we could have done. There's nobody else in there that could have been that aerial threat in the box. But yeah, we just kept putting those balls in when it was clear that they weren't going to work. So it was frustrating. But yeah, moving on to Monday, mate. How do we sort this out? Because we can't have them doing this, can we? At the state they're in, we can't. Like, what do
I
we
don't
do?
know. I wouldn't say I'm worried, just because I know everyone knows how bad Man United are nowadays. But I am cautiously optimistic that Liverpool will just go in and blitz them, like last season esque. There's a chance. Listen, United won't keep on losing. They won't. It's impossible. So there is a big chance. Obviously, you've got all the stuff about let's empty Old Trafford and all that stuff, which we've already done. So we don't know what context the game's going to be played in and all that stuff. So I don't know how it's going to go. I'm not going to lie to you, just purely because of how we've been as well. Like, people are laughing at Man United, and rightfully so, but we haven't been great either. It's just through a bit of luck at Fulham and a bit of fight yesterday that we haven't lost 2 games either. It could have easily gone that way. It's just the fact that United have lost these 2 games in the manner that they have, especially Brentford, that people are taking the mick out of them. Yeah, as I say, rightfully so. The injuries and suspensions are an issue. I would have loved to see Nunes against Martinez. That would have been comedy. But now we're faced with having to start Firmino, who was awful against Fulham, or shifting around the front three, which we don't really have scope to do at the minute in time, which is why I mentioned Carvalho in the false 9 before.
Yeah, you're right, mate. I just can't bear losing to them or even drawing to them, to be honest, because, like you said, they are laughing stock at the minute of the Premier League, and it's just the fault of us going there and not doing the job, putting us even further back than what we need to be. I think we'll do it, to be honest. I think that there has to be a time and a place where this team just thinks like, let's get it together now, and it should have happened yesterday, but I don't think it can get worse than those 2 games, to be honest. And that's mad because we drew the games. It's not like we lost. So I don't necessarily think it can get worse. In terms of the performance, I know Klopp alluded to the attitude from the Fulham game. I think the attitude was far better yesterday, especially when we needed the goal. But yeah, I just hope that we have enough because, like you say, the injuries, the suspension, I don't know what the lineup's going to be. I don't think anybody can really call it. Maybe he's going to do something mad and, like you say, go 4-2-3-1, or Carvalho as the false 9, or Diaz as the striker again. We don't know, but we need to see a response, and it has to come in this game. And if it does come in this game, then I think it will bring back, that optimism for the fans again. It's only 3 games in if we win there, and City have Newcastle away. I'd expect them to beat them, but it's not an easy place. Yeah, we found that out last year when Naby scored that goal. We only won 1-0. So listen, we have to win a game, and it has to be Man United. Let's just hope. But just out of curiosity, mate, if you could predict a lineup now, I know it's tough because we don't know who's going to be available, but I guess we'll finish on that, mate. What do you suspect the lineup to be, and do you have a score prediction for the TAT pod?
So I'd be tempted to put Hendo in the 6, give Fabinho a bit of a break. I'd just let Harvey Elliott and Naby Keita run it because Man United midfield is just beyond dreadful.
Naby killed them last time as well.
Exactly. Whoever plays in them, Elliott and Keita did good presses, of the ball, and Hendo in the 6 is a little, as much as people can argue, and on the grand scheme of things, I'd probably agree with them that Hendo hasn't been the levels that it used to be. Having him in the 6 is a bit more of an energetic thing than Fabinho, who, as I said before, looks leggy. I'd then, I'd go Firmino just because. Like, there's no reason behind Firmino starting. Probably only the fact he's the senior striker, if you like, and obviously Salah and Diaz, and I think Gomez will be fit enough by then. It's as I say, it's just a worry that United, big game, if there's an opportunity to kickstart their season, it'll be Monday, and I just really hope it's not that, purely because Twitter will turn into an absolute just apocalyptic wasteland if Liverpool don't go there and win, let alone draw. So before last night, I was thinking we can go there and it could be better than last season. It was and it still could be. It's a realistic thing that Liverpool can hit 4 or 5 again, just purely because of how bad United are at the minute. But I will take a 1-0. I do not care. Just get a win on the board and just go from there. Because, as I say, we've got to start winning games. I'm not having this, it's only 2 games in, 1 game in. We've dropped 4 points on City already, who are probably going to keep winning. As you say, you would probably expect them to go and beat Newcastle. So we've got to start winning games, otherwise we will find ourselves well out of it. I know we came back from 14 points last season, but we are just we're making the room for error just marginally slim by dropping points now than doing it in January, February, wherever time. We're already playing catch up, which is a terrible thing to do against the City team because we've done it twice and failed twice. So hopefully Liverpool get off the mark. But I say off the mark, get a win on the board on Monday. I'll go with 2-0.
Scores?
Score is Mo 2.
Mo 2, nice. Yeah, I agree, mate. I think it will be Ali, obviously. Robbo. Yeah. I'll probably say Robbo.
Tsimikas should be getting in and around this team now because Robbo's been terrible for months, but that wouldn't matter.
Yeah, no, especially at Old Trafford, I can see him just going with Robbo. Verge, Gomez, Trent, and then I'm inclined to agree with the Hendo thing. I think his best performances last season came from there in the 6, and Fabinho has just fallen off a cliff. And I say this all the time. You don't see many people talk about it. You just see people talk about the captain and how he's this and he's that, but other players, they don't get the same treatment. So I would be for that Hendo in the 6. Same too as you. I want Naby to play us today. The only reason I think he didn't is maybe he didn't train enough because he was ill. I know Klopp said he was back, but he didn't say he was going to start. He just said he's back. So, yeah, that's the only reason. Because he didn't kick a ball yesterday. For me, that's very strange, but that's a different conversation. Elliott keeps his place on me. And then the front 3 is probably where I think it's going to be very difficult to call. I did like what I saw yesterday from that very little cameo from Carvalho. So is he ready to start a game with this magnitude so early on? Maybe not. So on that basis, I would probably go Diaz, Bobby, Salah as well. But listen, like I said earlier, Klopp's the one that makes the decisions. If Klopp thinks Fabio is ready for this game, I'll back it. And I rate Carvalho very highly. He's done a lot in his career already. I mean, being a big part to getting a team promoted from the Championship at 18, 19 years of age, I think is such a big achievement. So, yeah, I'm easy with that. Like you said, I don't think there's too much you can do. I can't wait until Dio goes back, to be honest. I think he's going to give us so many more options. So, yeah, and my score prediction is going to be... got to be careful here. 3-1, maybe? Yeah, I'll go 3-1. Salah with 1. Diaz with 1. And I'm going to say Naby. He's going to do it again. an Old Trafford masterclass.
Sound by
Listen,
me.
Naby's one of my. I get told off by people for liking this guy too much. There's just something about Naby Keita which I love, and I know he's not available all the time, and that is an issue. But when he plays, I think he's class. And like I said, if he starts at Old Trafford again, I think he will deliver. So yeah, we'll leave it there for this pod, guys. Listen, thank you, Paddy, for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
No
And
worries, mate.
we'll definitely get you back on again, mate. It's been a really good conversation, and it's good to have these conversations with level-headed fans after a bit of disappointment rather than people
I
just
feel lighter in
shouting.
myself. I feel lighter
Yeah.
after yesterday.
Yeah, nice. It's good. Also, like I mentioned at the start, do not forget to check out Sported In. Join the TAT group chat. You can also have your say in the predicted lineup, whatever you think or not even what you think, what you want to see. You know, you can do it and send it in a group chat, and then everyone like reacts to it and says, "Oh, I don't know about that," or "Yeah, you've got that right," or whatever. So it's just a great conversation over there. It's bringing the TAT community to life really in a group chat. So make sure you get involved, download it, and join the group chat. Once again, thank you for supporting the podcast, and we will see you guys hopefully after we've demolished Man United once again for like the fourth time running or third. I don't know. It's too many, but yeah, third. Thank you for watching, guys, and we will see you next time.